Hi, my name is Peyton Snider, and I'm a sixth grade English Language Arts teacher in Cherokee County School District. This presentation is Artifact 11, which covers three different standards and criterion. The first is Standard 6.2, Criterion 20, Manage the Use of Technology for Learning in a Non-Traditional Classroom Setting. In my iTech 7305 class, we were tasked with creating a creative computing project for our students. For my creative computing projects, students used Scratch as a digital storytelling platform to illustrate their fables and fairy tales that they wrote during our narrative writing unit. In the past, we have created a hardcover book over their fables and fairy tales that contained a typed copy of their story and one hand-drawn illustration to represent their story, similar to a title or cover page illustration. It was a lot of fun seeing their book come to life in a hardcover format, but this is a much more engaging way for them to make their stories come to life through the use of digital storytelling. This project took place in a traditional classroom setting during normal school hours. However, all aspects of the project were put on their learning management system, Canvas. This project counted as an extension activity and was graded as a formative assessment. However, the narrative they turned in to the digital story was their summative grade for the unit to show mastery of content. Their creative computing project was an extension of their narrative unit, which covered the ELA GSE 6W3 standard, write narratives to develop real or imagined experiences or events using effective technique, relevant descriptive detail, and well-structured event sequence. All of these subcategories within the standard were addressed throughout the unit and were highlighted during their digital storytelling. To help manage the use of technology in my classroom, I first looked to the technology policies and guidelines from our district. These policies and guidelines can be found on the district website as well as in the student teacher parent handbook that is provided digitally to each parent at the beginning of the school year. We also review all of these policies the first week of school during homeroom time with our students. Within my classroom, I have my own specific tech rules that students were asked to follow. They first must be actively engaged. This looks like typing or working on the assignment on the appropriate platform, and then asking your teacher questions or getting feedback and collaborating with classmates in an appropriate way. I also allow students to listen to music, and the rules for that include they may listen to music if that would help them focus. They are required to use headphones, and if I can hear what they're playing, they have a warning, but if it happens again, they have to turn the music off. I also allow flexible seating in my classroom. They are allowed to sit where they want, whether that be at their assigned desks, the counter I have in my room, either of the rugs, the reading nook, or on the floor using a lap desk. However, it is important to me and the students that they be in a safe space where they are able to entirely focus on the work assigned. In addition to the specific tech rules, I have a couple other ways that I manage my classroom. I use the 3 before me rule, where students must ask at least 2 classmates and check our Canvas Learning Management course for troubleshooting or support before they come to me directly. During class, I often pull small groups and utilize one-on-one conferencing to help students, so I don't want to be interrupted or have students get interrupted with their question if it is something that can be solved and troubleshooted on their own. I also upload several video tutorials, whether I make them or they're found on the Scratch platform or YouTube. They're uploaded to their learning management system for easy access to help with troubleshooting. I also have teacher monitoring skills. Within Canvas, their learning management system, there is a log page that I can view to check to see how often they are on each page, each site, and how often they interacted with the site. Additionally, my district pays for a program called Go Guardian, where I have access to the students' computer screens as long as they're using a school-issued device. Within that, I can lock the screen, screenshot, send messages to the students, as well as shut down the computer. I also allow students choice in terms of flexible seating during their independent work time. I have a special set of rules that follow that called coffee shop mode, which is given as an option on every independent work day, and we vote as a class on whether or not to follow. Artifact 11 also covers Standard 6.3, Criterion 21, create opportunities for students to use a design process and/or computational thinking. During my iTech 7305 class, I was tasked with having and implementing a creative computing project. For my creative computing project, I had students use Scratch as a digital storytelling platform to illustrate their fables and fairy tales that they wrote during our narrative writing unit. Scratch uses a code-based language to interact and create movements and stories in a visual way. For this project, students worked through the creative learning spiral, which is one type of design thinking process. It's this spiral that keeps repeating within imagine, create, play, share, reflect, and then again with more imagination. This process encourages students to continually work on the problem or concept they have in a way that incorporates both imagination and analytic reflection. The artifact you see on the screen is a screenshot of the student's graphic organizer to demonstrate the student's participation in the creative learning spiral design process. Students use this brainstorm sheet to illustrate, take notes, jot down ideas, and more. This was the beginning stages of the creative learning spiral, specifically the imagine step. Once they completed this, they moved on to the creation step. This artifact is also a screenshot of the student's graphic organizer to demonstrate the student's participation in the create phase of the creative learning spiral. This is a blank plot mountain that takes students through the decomposition phase during the create step. They are breaking down their narrative stories that they are imagining into smaller parts organized throughout this plot mountain. These photos are evidence of students engaging in the project while following the appropriate rules and guidelines set forth in the class and for this project. They are treating the technology respectfully, and they are helping one another by troubleshooting issues and working digitally on the Scratch digital storytelling project. The photos also show students creating their digital projects. The students are in the middle of the computational thinking stage. Artifact 11 also covers Standard 6.4, Criterion 22, Model and Nurture Creativity. There are several ways throughout this project that I modeled and nurtured creativity for my students. At the beginning of the creative computing project using Scratch, I spent a day walking through the program with my students. There were several students who were familiar with the program previously by using it in elementary school. However, the majority of my students were unfamiliar. So we spent a whole day playing around with the tutorials and practice on Scratch. We specifically focused and walked through the create a story together, but then I allowed student independent work time to play around with the software itself. Students had initial creativity in the writing of their narrative. There were requirements they had to include in order for their narrative to fit under the category of a fable or fairy tale, but aside from that, they had complete creative control over their writing. That translated to the digital storytelling because they transformed their written expression into a digital storytelling format by bringing their stories to life. Students had multiple opportunities for peer feedback as well as teacher feedback. They were able to upload their story to Canvas Learning Management System where I could comment and leave feedback for them in order to make revisions. Another way we had peer feedback was an informal gallery walk where students took turns walking around to their peer's desk where their laptop or device was open to their Scratch digital story. Students were able to leave feedback on sticky notes and stick them to their peer's desk for them to read later. I also participated in the gallery walk to help model a way to leave constructive feedback for their peers. And finally, to celebrate the end of the project, we had a film festival day where students were allowed to sign up for a slot where their digital story could be played aloud. Thank you so much for listening.